I have always loved kids. I don't know why, but I think maybe it's because I've been surrounded by them since I was a child myself. My little sister, Twiza, was born in 1990 when I was only 3 years old. I have fond memories of when she was a little baby and most of her toddler years. It was so cute to play with her and to tease her. She hates it these days, but I used to call her my pet. I have five siblings, which means I also have lots of nephews and nieces, 10 to be precise. Some of them are actually adults now, but I spent time with them when they were babies or little kids. And I loved the joy of playing with them and seeing them actually grow up. Maybe because of this, I took having children for granted. I didn't know what a miracle it is to have a baby until Ryan. I'll come back to Ryan in a moment, but let me connect the dots first. I am an identical twin. My brother Jay and I are the only boys in a family of six. The other four are girls. We are best friends and we share almost everything and we like the same things. And we share everything except, of course, our toothbrushes and our wives, because that would be gross. Anyway, when Jay got married, I cried at his wedding because it felt like he was leaving me. I know how ridiculous that all sounds, but that's how it felt. I guess it's a twin thing and that's hard to explain. But anyway, that never happened, as in he wasn't leaving me. And he and his wife Sarah actually babied me a lot. So in September 2014, a few months after their wedding, when Jay told me they were expecting, I was ecstatic. And from that time, our BlackBerry chats, yeah, they were a thing then, tells you how old I am, were filled with plans about the baby. By this time, I had also met someone and was planning to get married early the next year. So Jay and I had great plans for our kids growing up together. A little later, Jay shared with me that it was going to be a boy. I was elated and can still remember the joy I felt and the primal screams on the phone of hell yeah. Soon our conversations turned to possible names. Oops. Sorry, Sarah, we kind of discussed it. Jay shared some options, most of which I can't remember now, but the name they picked was Ryan. Ryan was going to be the most special nephew in my life. My twin brother's first child. I couldn't wait to meet him. As it happened, I never did. It was 31st May 2015. We knew Sarah was in labor and Jay had messaged me that they were at the hospital. I had to go to bed early that night because the next morning was my first day at my new job for the United Nations World Food Program. Around 11 p.m., I got a call from my mom. She asked if Jay had called me, and I was still barely awake when she delivered the heartbreaking news that they had lost the baby. You never forget the moment the weight of the world comes crashing down on you. It hits you like a hammer. Disbelief, shock, everything. I don't even remember the rest of my phone call with mom or when it ended. Somehow I got out of my haze and tried to call Jay. Both their phones were off, so I couldn't reach him. I tried to call Sarah's mom, and I remember hearing the person on the other line crying. It wasn't until maybe after 2 minutes that I realized this was the wrong number. Oddly, they too had suffered a loss. I finally got through to the right number and was given the name of the hospital by Sarah's mom. I drove there and honestly, I don't remember anything much about the drive to the hospital. I found Jay in the waiting room near the maternity ward. A hug and a barely audible "I'm sorry," and we sat next to each other on one of the long benches. I still remember that he was unbelievably calm and composed. Even though I was kind of used to his stoic and composed manner in serious or difficult situations, I wasn't expecting that. I asked about Sarah, and he told me she was fine and still getting medical attention from the doctors. You have to remember, I had no clue at this stage what happened after a birth. I can barely remember anything else that we said that night. All I recall was the long silence we had for most of the 2 or 3 hours that I stayed with him. Eventually, close to around 3 a.m., I left because I needed some rest before reporting for work that day at 8 a.m. It was the beginning of my education in the miracle that is childbirth, the preciousness of life, and difficulties in conceiving a baby. My brother and his wife were not the only ones to have a stillborn, certainly not. And in the months and years that followed, I learned of many people who went through similar tragedies, from miscarriages to stillborns to babies that lived only a few days after birth. I also discovered the harsh reality that even trying to conceive can be traumatic. And I started to see children from a different perspective, how special each one is and why we love them so dearly. Still, it didn't change the fact that Ryan was gone. The next few days were hard for all of us. Losing Ryan was tough for me too. It was hard to find joy in my new job while trying to be there for my brother as they mourned. I can still see the little casket in the back of Jay's parked SUV while we waited for the cemetery staff to prepare his grave. Over the years, I have made a habit of going to see Ryan's grave alone, to cry, because I have one regret. We buried Ryan without me ever seeing his face. I will never get over it. For Jay and Sarah, it was still hard even many months after. How could anyone ever rise from that?